But Kevin, with the Bucks beating the Eagles 28-22, what were your main takeaways from this game overall?
Well, obviously, as everybody knows at this point, if you're a religious follower or watcher of our videos, I have to support the Eagles because that is my girlfriend's team, and at the end of the day, I have slowly become somewhat of a fan for them in regards to my second team, and it's hard to watch the Eagles play football lately. And, like I know that they beat Carolina last week, and I know that they made this a 6 point game, but like Kyle said, the score doesn't necessarily reflect the dominance in which the Buccaneers really held the majority of this game. And I'm just looking at Nick Sirianni, obviously former offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts and now head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm just looking at him like, what are you doing with this lineup? I mean, like, what are you doing with this roster? I mean, you have obviously two former first round picks in Devontae Smith and Jalen Rager. You have a fantastic tight end duo. Obviously, Dallas Goedert did not play tonight, but it's normally Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. You have an up and coming surprising rookie in Gainwell, and then obviously the potential to be a Pro Bowler in Miles Sanders. And you guys are running bubble screens and running the ball like a league low in terms of like your amount of rush attempts at the running back position. They ran the ball a total of 9 times today. Absolutely atrocious. I get it. Tampa's got probably one of the stoutest, if not the most dominant rush defenses in the NFL. But we're talking from a seasonal perspective, the Eagles have legitimately not run the ball outside of Jalen Hurts on an RPO or a quarterback keeper or scrambling out of a broken play at all. I mean, we're talking Miles Sanders is averaging well over 5 yards per carry when given the actual football consistently, which is just ridiculous considering the amount of offensive line changes the Eagles have gone through within the last 2 seasons. So I look at this game and I say, damn, the initial first drive for the Bucks, they go down the field and score relatively easy. Then the Eagles reply immediately and then they go and score. I believe after that score, the Eagles did not get a first down in terms of like consistently until maybe the end of the second quarter, if that. The Eagles' offense was just absolutely stagnant, and that is high and large to the fact that Jalen Hurts was very inaccurate. Jalen Hurts was relying way too much on that RPO, and Nick Sirianni's play calling was just absolutely just unacceptable. You have talent on the outside. You have speedsters in terms of receivers. You have big bodies with tight ends, and you have a phenomenal running back. And yet you fail to utilize that. And Kyle and I were talking about this prior to the game, and kind of as it was going on. Um, I don't understand why we do not have Jalen Hurts under center. And I said we. I did not mean that. Again, I'm not an Eagles fan. I support the Eagles. I am a Colts fan. Force of habit because of how hard I cheer for them for the in-laws, or excuse me, girlfriend's family. I know they hate when I say that. But genuinely, every play is out of the shotgun. So if I'm any defensive coordinator, I'm legitimately planning for Jalen Hurts and this RPO, and that's literally it. On the Bucks half, it does seem that the Buccaneers kind of took their feet off the gas pedal after their score in the third quarter, and that's why Philly was able to kind of claw back into it. But the defensive pressure of the Philadelphia's front four was able to at least make life a little bit difficult for Tom Brady, not necessarily in terms of sacks. I don't believe they had any, but in regards to just kind of pressuring him, knocking him down, and kind of making their presence kind of felt, where Tom Brady had to move his feet and kind of like run outside of the pocket to a certain extent. But overall, the Buccaneers were dominant on all phases. They were able to get the ball going to Antonio Brown. I mean, Leonard Fournette had himself a game. And then, of course, the defense was able to pretty much for the majority of this game shut down Philly outside of some garbage time touchdowns. But the Bucks moved to 5-1. Obviously, Philly drops down to 2-4. But the Bucks are just going to continue this dominance, man. They beat a bad team, which is what they need to continue to do go forward. And I don't see why they're not going to continue this dominance for the rest of the year.
Yeah, like when I look at this game overall, by and large, the Bucks just owned this game through the first 3 quarters of the game. I mean, when you look at the time of possession between both teams, the Buccaneers possessed the ball for 40 minutes of this game compared to 20 minutes for the Eagles. The Eagles, as a team, they only had, I believe, 213 yards of total offense. And I don't even believe that they hit the 100-yard mark as far as total offense goes until the fourth quarter. So it really goes to show just how well Tampa controlled this game from the first quarter to at least the third quarter, because it was like Kevin said, Jalen Hurts and that offense could essentially get nothing going outside of that first drive where they were helped by a pass interference that set them up within the 5 yard line and they scored right after that. But there were large stretches of this game where the Eagles just could not get anything going. Jalen was just sitting in the pocket. He had time to throw on some of his passes, but just guys couldn't get open, or if they were open, then he would get flushed out of the pocket just because of the pressure that Tampa was bringing. It was just one of those games offensively for the Eagles. It was really tough for them to watch. It hurt, especially the first 3 quarters of the game, but they did make it kind of close. In the fourth quarter, they were able to kind of make it somewhat of a game at the end. But I mean, Brady just does what he always does. You're up by 6 points. You got about 5 minutes to go. You don't necessarily need to score to end the game, but you could just get a couple first downs and burn some clock and get the crucial first down to just start the kneel job. And after that, you're good to go. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I will talk about the Bucks real quick though. I thought the Bucks, they played great for the first 3 quarters, and then they definitely took their foot off the pedal in the fourth quarter. It's just because I think it was one of those games where I think by the third quarter, I think they had 28 points going into the fourth. And up until that point, the Eagles really hadn't shown me or them that they were going to be a real threat in this game. And when the Eagles did kind of make of a push in that fourth quarter, the Bucks just finished them. So, granted, both teams are coming off of only really 3 days of rest from their last matchup in week 5. So it wasn't necessarily the high scoring affair that I thought it was going to be, because I thought the Bucks were going to get at least 35 points. They settled for 28, and I mean the Eagles did get into the 20s, but it's the Bucks, man. The Bucks did what they needed to do. They beat a subpar Philly team, which offensively just they're so one dimensional with Jalen. It's not that hard to scheme against them, and it's pretty much kind of what I expected. The Bucks moved to 5-1. The Eagles moved to 2-4. And I think it kind of goes without saying, but the Bucks are still like one of the best teams, not only in the NFC but in the NFL. And despite playing a subpar team the way that they did, I still believe that to be true. So, good for the Bucks. They go. I think they played the Bears next week in Week 7, so they get a week and a half to prepare for them. And then the Eagles, they got to go back to the drawing board and figure this thing out, because there were large stretches of this game where they could not get anything going offensively. Defensively, they got absolutely shredded by Brady and the Bucks in the first half. They did make some adjustments in the second half, but it was too late. So this was a game that honestly kind of expected. It's not really much else I could say other than that, but it's still a good win for the Bucks, and the Eagles got to go back to the drawing board.